Hello, East Africa. Good morning and welcome to your world. COVID-19 has changed our world. If you're stuck at home or your movements have been restricted, we're here to keep you company. Your World is a new show that focuses on your health and well-being as we help you to adjust to your new normal. We'll bring you views and experiences from the East African region and the world at large. You can reach us, our Twitter handle, #NewNormal. In our program this morning,
and I do not like coronavirus, and I also like it at the same time.
What on earth could Johanna be talking about? Find out in a few minutes. Parents, how are you handling working from home? Some are at their wits' end. Monkeys go nuts in water.
Left hand, right foot, Father Abraham and many sons.
And if you can go to church, bring church home. All that and much more coming up. But first, let's look at the latest updates, now statistics regarding COVID-19. Looking at the situation in Kenya, where up to this moment, a total of 8,133 people have been tested for COVID-19. 208 have been confirmed positive, 9 people have sadly died, and 40 people have so far recovered. And looking at elsewhere in East Africa, just scrolling down to what the situation is with our neighboring countries. Now in Tanzania, the figures are very tiny here, but confirmed cases 46. There have been 3 deaths so far. 7 people have recovered. Our neighbors up north in Ethiopia, they have 71 confirmed cases. 3 people have died and 10 have recovered. Going beyond our borders to Somalia, they have 25 confirmed cases, 2 deaths, and 2 people have recovered. South Sudan, our other neighbor, 4 people confirmed positive. No one has so far died, no one has recovered. And in Uganda, the situation is that 54 people have been confirmed positive. No one has so far died, and 4 people have recovered. In Rwanda, the latest figures are that 126 people have been confirmed positive. Fortunately, no one has died. 25 people have recovered. Another East African nation, Burundi, 5 people have so far been confirmed positive. No one has died. No one has recovered. So that's the situation as it stands at the moment in Kenya and around the East African region, courtesy of Newsplex. If you would like more information on this, you can go to www.nation.co.ke/Newsplex. Now let me introduce our guys who are joining us from the region to give us an update on what is going on. We have, first of all, in Tanzania, Tulanana Bohela. Good morning, Tulanana.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Stay with us. We will be with you over the next couple of hours. Also in Uganda, we're going to our colleague from NTV Uganda, whose name is Walter Mwesige. Good morning. And I'm told our colleague is not yet in. He'll be joining us shortly. We're just trying to make that connection to our sister station in Kampala. But we also have in the studio, we have Dr. Siriaka, who's also joining us, and we'll be speaking to her in a minute. She is an education expert. We also have Eva, beg your pardon if I get your name correctly, who's joining us on Skype. And we also hope that here in Nairobi we'll be joined by a children's pastor, Pastor Bella, joining us from the Nairobi Baptist Church. But first, here's a quick look into the effects of COVID-19 in Tanzania.
Hi, my name is Jane Moshi, and I am a film and TV freelancer. The situation right now has obviously affected work. We can't have our productions running. So right now we're just trying to find alternative ways on how we can still keep the projects going. But yeah, it's just we've all been in lockdown basically, personally, not governmentally.
Majina naitwa Mary Mshana, ni mwanafunzi wa chuo kikuu cha Mwalimu Nyerere. Kwa kipindi hichi cha corona imekuwa imetuaffect sana kwa sababu sisi hapa ni wanafunzi kama unavyojua na tutakuwa kuendelea na masomo. Sasa hivi tutakuwa tuna semester nyingine ambayo tungekuwa sasa hivi tusha cover kwa namna fulani, lakini kutokana na hili janga imesababisha tumekuwa tunarudi sasa nyumbani.
I think there's a lot that could be done. I think it's high time the country goes on like a strict lockdown because we have a lot of movement still. It's not as if people are aware that there's something going on. People know, but their actions don't prove that there's a pandemic in the country at the moment. But I think for what they've done so far, it's good that they've shut down schools and that they've said that we should minimize on gatherings. But I think a lot more can be done.
Kwa majina naitwa Hosea Lukelo, na jinsi mimi nilivyo cope na hili situation kwamba tunaendelea na masomo yangu binafsi huku nyumbani, sababu siwezi kubaki tu bila kufanya chochote. Tukusudia kama gonjwa itaisha, basi tunaomba Mungu atusaidie tuendelee masomo yetu.
The views of some Tanzanians, and we stay in that country, joined by our correspondent Tulanana Bohela. Tulanana, welcome again to Your World this Tuesday morning. Now, what's the situation as we speak? We've just read out the numbers, but what's the feel in Dar es Salaam this Tuesday morning?
Well, for Dar es Salaam, well, I basically describe it as a Sunday every day. It's a go slow almost every day. As people are going to work in certain areas a little bit more busier than others, but most private offices rather, have decided to take their work at home or spread out their workers or staff into groups so that they don't come in at the same time to work every day. I would also describe that it's kind of like a wait and see, as well as we continue to receive the numbers. Yesterday saw the highest jump of confirmed cases with the numbers that you just mentioned, with the 13 in Dar es Salaam, 1 in Arusha, and 3 in Zanzibar, making the total to 49 actually, and not 46. If you add those that were also declared by the Minister of Health in Zanzibar. So I can describe it as kind of like a wait and see in some areas of the city, especially those informal sectors like Kariakoo, which is the largest East African market. You kind of feel like life is as normal. The only difference being that you'll see people wearing masks here and there, buckets of water that has some disinfectant in front of shops and the like. But in the more affluent areas, people have decided to self-isolate themselves and kind of wait and see whether there will be a total lockdown.
Now, Tulanana, we've mentioned the number of people who've sadly passed on in Tanzania as a result of COVID-19, and one of them is actually a media person. And to my knowledge, this is, I think, the first reported casualty from amongst the media. How is the industry taking this loss?
Well, the industry took this loss very, very hard, and it's kind of like a wake-up call that even for the media fraternity that's continuously covering and making coverage over this, that there needs to be some sort of protocol that are placed both individually for individual stations, but also for the entire for the state at large, to take it more seriously. Just looking at kind of like the groups or the WhatsApp groups and the chatter online, it was a wake-up call that this disease is not picking people who have a certain lifestyle or anything, but we are in the front line of it. and we are very able to catch it as well. And so a lot of tension as well in terms of being able to go and cover well, but also protect yourselves. So we've seen a few media houses, for instance, as I said before, take shifts in coming in and out of work. Some distributing some PPE, though the PPE issue is still kind of debatable for some of them. But it was a real shock.
And now, Tulanana, the government in Tanzania has also been quite keen on clamping down on the spread or distribution of what they see as fake news regarding the coronavirus. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes, we've had a few incidents or cases of people being arrested for spreading fake news, especially fake news around the number of people that have either been infected or have died, or confirmed cases rather. So just the most recent one was the end of last week. We saw a university student arrested for spreading fake news over the virus. It was a University of Dar es Salaam student was arrested in Shinyanga province, that's in the northwestern part of the country, for spreading fake figures. More figures that were actually stated by the government. In the end of March, for instance, also a couple was actually arrested for sharing information that speculated that the government was not able to feed students, university students, and that's why they created the excuse of the coronavirus in order to shut schools down. That arrest was actually made by the public themselves. So the party actually took the couple to the police themselves over that. And in Moshi, in the north of the country, we saw another student also be arrested for spreading, posting on social media over the number of people that have been infected by the virus and have also died from it. So the issue of the numbers and the cases is quite sensitive for the country, because this is something that is justifying also the go slow, or rather the approach that the government has decided to take that is different from the East African region.
Okay, Tulanana, thank you. Stay with us. We'll be back with you shortly in the course of our program. Now, time for our diary session, and this morning we take a peep into the life of Lucy Wache Owuor, a mother of 3 boys. Being an actress, a poet, and a director, she narrates how her whole life has had to change.
I am married, and my husband and I raised 3 children, 3 boys, a 14-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So that's a high schooler, a 3rd grader, and a preschooler. How has COVID-19 disrupted my life? Well, firstly, my work. I am a performing artist, so all the live gigs, all the rehearsals that were lined up had to be postponed indefinitely. And then the other thing we had to do is civic education, for lack of a better word. Just sit them down, explain to them, this is what's happening, this is what COVID-19 is. In fact, the dad is the one who had that class with them, just to explain to them, this is the way you wash your hands properly. It's the proper way to wash hands. This is how you protect yourselves. And I have been making concoctions every morning rich in vitamin C, just to boost their immunity. So that's something else that's a new normal now, making concoctions. It's a mouthful. Yeah, so other than that, what else has been disrupted? The budget has been disrupted. When you're cooped up in the house, there's a temptation to always snack, always eat. And so, it's a discussion that we have to gently have with the children. It can be life as normal. You can snack all the time, because we have to save up, push the day, push the week, push the month, so that because the future is uncertain, we don't know what tomorrow holds for us. And so that's the other thing, that it's not life as usual. We have to monitor the meals, so that we don't starve tomorrow. what else has been disrupted? Oh, me time. I don't have me time. The children are with me 24/7. They want to be with me every time. They don't understand that I need to sit down on the laptop and work. In fact, when I do that, the 2-year-old is there with me. He wants to type. He says he wants to type, he wants to work. The 8-year-old is wondering why I have to work. Why can't I play with him? So even when I'm recording my audition monologues, he is there. He wants to record the monologues with me. He wants to be useful around me. So I don't have space as such. Even exercising has become difficult because the moment I start exercising, the 2-year-old is there. I'm doing my planks, he's jumping on my back. It used to be frustrating initially, but then, make lemonade out of the lemon. So these days what we do is, if he finds me exercising, I use him as the weights as resistance.
Well, the experiences there of how life is changing and changing people's lives. Tulanana, I just want to come back to you briefly in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, to find out at a personal level, how has life changed for you?
Yes, life has changed, I think, for everybody, and as well as myself, it's been, I don't know, it kind of came as a shock, and as well as just how I go slow, working from home, requiring that discipline to be able to wake up on time, do things as far you're supposed to do is quite difficult, and especially as a reporter, where you so much to just going out there and doing your work, but now having to take those extra precautions, it's quite a shift in a paradigm of which we kind of not prepared. And so at this point, really, we're still kind of adjusting to being to using the online tools that are able to work for us. But also be able to keep on the ground, because for journalists, we require for ourselves to go on the ground, to be able to hear from people. But now that's also become quite a treacherous path. So that's how things have changed.
Thank you very much indeed, Tulanana, for joining us this morning. We hope to have you on our show in the next few days. Thank you so much for joining us from Tanzania. Now, let me walk over to my guest in the studio. Good morning again.
Good morning, Joseph.
Welcome to your world.
Thank you.
Now, I introduced you as a child development expert. You are also Dean at the School of Education, University of Embu, and I know your areas of research to do with children and adolescents, as well as a special focus on child protection.
Yes.
Now, let's first of all, helping people who are at home, parents who are at home with kids. I know sometimes you use the word stuck at home, but I'm told the best word to use is safe at home.
Safe at home.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So safe at home, well, not quite safe because they've got kids around them and they don't know what to do with them. So when people are in that kind of environment, for a parent, what is this pandemic doing in terms of children's development when they are essentially in a very confined space of time, space really, not interacting much with other children?
Thank you. Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here this morning to address the new world. And this new world, as you call it, our world is now new. It's not a world that we've lived. It's not a world we anticipated. Just like the parent has said, it's so disrupted. It's so new. It's so confusing, and I think there isn't any of us who expected that there'll come a day when children won't wake up and go to school, or there'll come a day when parents will have to be at home with their children, and we are saying keeping them safe. So COVID-19 has clearly disrupted a very comfortable space. And a comfortable space is where we are able as human beings to predict what would happen. We are routine people, we are scheduled, and when that happens, all of a sudden, it brings a lot of challenges. And so you say a parent is having to stay with the child. Yes, because the parent is supposed to be the safest place for a child to be in the first place. Parents are expected to create safe havens where children want to run back. But because of where we are at, it hasn't been the case. We have to have our children in school. Schools are being very safe places for children. Children love school, but they also love home. It will be interesting to find out where would children prefer to be.
And talking about the difficulty with this pandemic is that parents were not quite prepared for this. That you know that you have your children with you for, for the holidays, whether it's a week or 3 weeks or a month, and they'll go back to school. But now they're permanent carers for their children. They're also the pastors in the home. How do you keep track as a parent of your child's development? I mean, how do you know how well they're doing? I mean, at school, teachers help you with that kind of structure. How do you do that at home?
I think maybe going back, you say parents were not prepared. Neither were the children. Actually, for parents, we were seeing news about COVID in China. We followed it, and eventually it arrived home. But children, one day, they were told to go home. There's no school on Monday. And possibly that's when the story of this COVID began creaking in the lives of children. So children are at home, and the parents are also at home, and they're not prepared for it. And the word indefinite is a word we don't like. You are with your children at home indefinitely. I think there is a silver lining in it. I think parents will have a chance to really know who their children are. Because I've spoken here before, and I've said that oftentimes some parents, children get introduced to them by the teachers. But now a parent has a chance to sit with a 3-year-old, to sit with a 4-year-old, to touch them, to feel them a little longer. It is a new space. You have a chance now to be with your 8-year-old, or a 13-year-old, or even a university student, sitting with you in the house as you work. So I think the silver lining here is that I think parents need to ask themselves, what has really happened? What chance do I have to give something to this child in this indefinite period? Remember, your very own child might actually be dreading the fact that I'll be with you indefinitely. And so how I pray that parents will begin having conversations around how do we share this life together. You ask whether this staying together is likely to affect children? Yes. The relationship that the parent will form with the child in this period would have significant effects on how the child transits in this period of unknown. A younger child, the type of questions the younger child will keep asking repeatedly are not the same kind of questions a child who is 80-year-old will ask. Neither a 14-year-old would prefer not to be in your midst. So Joseph, it's a little confusing, but I think if I were having children of that age, I would really want to be a student of my child. Because when you learn your child, then you can influence the nature and the type of development that will take place. Remember, children will keep growing. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, they will grow. It's only that the context and the environment in which they are growing is now confined into a very small space.
I want to come back to you and discuss space.
Yes.
And how parents turn that space in the home
yes.
into a learning environment.
You're right.
But first of all, we also have on the line Eva Napotuni, who's the director of ACON Kenya, Special Needs Children Organization, and parent as well to a child with special needs. Buru. So if you can hear me, good morning.
Morning, but I can't hear you clearly.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you clearly.
We'll try and work on our sound. Can you hear me now if I speak this loudly? I know our engineers are busy trying to connect me to you with the best quality of sound possible. Can you hear me now?
No.
While we try to fix the line, let me come back to you again, Dr. Gitonga. And you have people live in a small apartment, maybe 2 bedrooms. How do you create a learning environment at home? What are the considerations?
I'll say this. One, the smaller space, the majority of the young families in this country will typically be found living in small spaces in urban areas, not in the rural areas. Not even in the informal sector. The informal sector, the spaces might be very small, but children go out. They don't just sit. So the small spaces affects one of the most important parts of a child. The restrictions that are put by a parent in a small space hinders the child from having the space to play. Because in that particular small space, it is meant to enhance the comfort of everybody. It is meant to enhance the comfort of daddy, mommy, other siblings. So if a young child is in that environment, they are the ones who are likely to be affected because the place to play is extremely limited. And when I talk about play, we are talking about physical exertion of the child.
How do you share that space, that small space?
I think there needs to be a disruption also in that space.
Okay.
Parents need to think, how do I disrupt this comfortable space where I've got very nice couches, I've got very nice glassy, coffee tables, where I have my nice screen set. And the reason why that space is not comfortable for your child is because you keep stopping them from doing what they naturally would want to do, to jump around, to roll around, to scream, to touch, to climb. It's for between 2 years all the way to 4.5, they want to do that because that's the way they engage with the world. We say play is a teacher of the child. Play is like medicine to a child. Play is as the spiritual, so to speak, world of the child, where they get out, and that way we are able to tell they are cognitively developing, they are socially developing, they are able to manage their emotions. So in those particular spaces, I think this season calls us to disrupt it and reorganize it to suit the younger children especially. Because if this indefinite closure remains with us for a while, and the child remains in that space where they are not allowed to play, I think the joy, the cheer that you get from a child will be denied.
All right. Yes. Let me come back to you in a moment. And we cross over to Bella Mburu, if you can hear me. She's a children's pastor at Nairobi Baptist Church, Ngong Road, and herself is also by profession a clinical psychologist. Good morning and welcome to Your World.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Now, let me start by being personal with you. How are you handling your kids at home?
Sorry?
How are you handling your own children at home?
Wow. See, I have children below the age of 6, and that just means lots of activity. So we are playing and pulling out all those toys which in the past they would quickly get bored of. But we're using all of them right now and trying to get them as much outside time and less screen time.
Now, my other guest here, Dr. Gitonga, talked about the importance of turning your house into a play and learning environment. Have you had to turn your kitchen upside down for your children, or perhaps the living room?
I mean, everything is a toy, and you just have to be okay with a messy house. You know, right now, moms cannot have hang-ups about having a tidy living room or anything. It's a huge playground, and we allow ourselves for it to be a playground, and we've decided that, you know what, in the evening we have tidy up time, and that's when we get a livable, adult-friendly living room. But for sure, everything's been pushed aside and everything is a toy right now.
It's something women are getting used to. I have had to be displaced from my comfortable chair as the father of the home.
Yes, and they have to roll up their sleeves as well and get down and dirty with the children.
Now, you're a pastor. You're a children's pastor. We are not able to go to church physically. We're told church is not necessarily the building, it's the people, but we have to bring the church at home. So not only are we asking parents to be teachers, to be carers, we're also asking them to be pastors. How do you do that?
Well, you know, just a disclaimer, that is God's design. In Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 7, it talks of how This is right after Moses had been given the 10 commandments. He was then asked to go and tell the children of Israel to teach these commands to their children and to, sit at home and talk to them about them when they lie down, when they get up, when they walk along the road. And if you look repeatedly in the Bible, every single time a command is given to teach or train children in the ways of the Lord, it is given to parents. In fact, many a times when I'm talking to our parents at it's Nairobi Chapel, not Nairobi Baptist,
Yes,
when I
beg your
talk to our
pardon.
parents, I say to them that my job is not in essence biblical. Sunday school was created actually for orphans or spiritual orphans, people whose parents do not know the Lord. So in essence, number one, God thinks that parents can do this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have instructed us to be the ones who primarily disciple and nurture our children in his ways. So to all the parents out there, just be encouraged. You don't need to be a teacher and you don't need to be a pastor to spiritually nurture your child. God thinks you can do it, and so you can just, be easy with yourself and be authentic in the process, and you can do this. So, to answer your question, I think you were just saying that parents right now are expected to be the pastors, and how can they go about this? Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And maybe to be more specific, how do you go about teaching, for example, the Bible if you want to bring your children in a Christian environment to be Christians? How do you teach the Bible to, I don't know, 4-year-olds and 5 and 6-year-olds?
Okay. Well, that's the best audience for the Bible because they're so inquisitive, they're questioners, they're eager. And the Bible was made for children, if you ask me. It's full of parables and stories, and that's exactly how, younger children, 4, 5s and below, and even 6-year-olds and below thrive. So, a parent just needs to pick up the Bible and read it. In this season, I guess it would be pertinent to deal with some of the issues that are facing the children. So if you pick Bible verses or Bible stories that are talking about anxiety and prayer and turning anxiety into prayer and fear into prayer, or stories on, a child in the Bible who was brave amidst, circumstances that were dire, and just pick up your Bible and read it for your child. I say make it fun. The Word of God is living, it's active, it's anything but boring. So shame on us if we make it boring for our children. So parents out there, just pick up the Bible and read it, and think of a funny cartoon character that you grew up with, and pick up that tone or pick up that accent and read the Bible in a fun accent for your child, and they'll just absolutely love it, and they'll think that this is so exciting and this is so much fun. Act out the Bible for them, dress up or get them to act it out as you read it, so everybody can get involved. It doesn't have to be, a very monotone, pick up the Bible and read it with my normal voice, but I can pick up the Bible and change my tone and change my voices. I can act it out. I mean, if you're telling them that the Word of God is a double-edged sword, go to the kitchen and pick up 2 knives and sharpen them as you're telling them this story. There's just so many interesting things that you can do to bring the Word of God to life for your child.
Thank you very much indeed. Stay with us. We may have a couple of questions for you. I'm trying to establish whether we have Eva back. Or if you can hear me, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for...
Sorry about that.
No, we are getting used to the technology, and that's the way we're going to be doing for the next few weeks or months even. Yeah, welcome to the program. Now, I just wanted to get your perspective from... We've been talking a lot about children in the home environment, which we're now turning into a classroom, a church, and so many other things. But what about children with special needs? What are the challenges at this particular moment when we're dealing with the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I've heard quite a bit in and out about what the effect has had on different people. But I just want to highlight about children with special needs, children with disabilities, children with neurodiversities, And I heard a mother saying how she's at home with her children. And I do assume that these are typical children. They're not children with special needs. And what they have had, the measures that they have had to take. Now, I want to go back to the children with special needs. There are a wide range of children with special needs right now as we speak. We have children with neurodiversities, where we have children who have invisible disabilities, children with attention deficit hyperactive disorders, children with autism, children with specific learning difficulties. We have children with cerebral palsy who are not very mobile. We have children who are deaf-blind. We have children who are visually impaired. We have children who are hearing impaired. We have children with multiple disabilities. And I heard somebody saying that children love school. Now, what has happened is that the children cannot go to school, and their routine and structure has been disrupted. So what is happening is that the people that they rely on, for example, therapists and teachers and all that, are no longer in their lives. So it is very confusing for them. Areas that we are looking at is they are used to a certain routine, they're used to a certain structure. That is not there in the home right now, because the parents are probably not equipped to be able to deal with the current epidemic. Children, yeah.
Support systems, which would normally be there. What are your tips as to what the parents can actually do without these other support systems that they would normally rely on?
Yeah, so what can be done is that, you see, is to empower parents. That's the place that we need to go, is to empower parents, because right now we don't have the support system. The therapists cannot go home. The teachers cannot go home to see the children. So we are left with actually the load is on the parents, who are already compromised in their own way, because they have to deal, it's not just one child that they also have the other children. And all of a sudden, overnight, they have to become mothers, they have to become teachers, they have to become therapists, they have to become the nurse of the child. So it is a heavy load on the parents, but at the end of the day, we have to empower the parents.
Now, as you're speaking, we're just watching you at work with other children. How do you yourself cope? How are you handling your own child or children even?
Oh, wow. Okay, because I can't see what you're seeing. So I have a little girl. She has Down syndrome, and she's 6 years old. If you ask her, she says 6, 7, because she'll be 7 this year. What I've done is I've just come up with a program for her, and we have school. She calls it Shule. She calls it, we go to school every morning from around 9 to about 12:30. And so I've created a program for her, and we follow that program with her every day. So that's what I've had to do. But you see, I'm already a teacher. I'm a special needs teacher. I've been having a school for the past 30 years, so I have the background information. Now, what about those parents who are out there who don't have that information, apart from just being a mom and being a dad? So that is why I started doing that, so that I can show parents this is what we can also do at home.
Thank you very much indeed. And Pastor Bella, if you're still with us, just a quick question for you.
Yes.
I wonder, at this point, as a children's pastor, are you receiving a lot of requests for prayers from parents? Are people coming to you with anxiety issues?
Yes, I mean, for sure, because this is a trying time for everyone. It's not just the children, the parents too. And as a church, you know, we've not been waiting for them to come to us. We've been reaching out to make sure that they're doing okay. And, you know, there's a lot of anxiety out there. Many people, their jobs are on the line. And so for fathers, it's how am I going to provide for my family in this season? And they definitely need prayer. And similarly, even with the children, you know, how am I going to do this? we're used to coming to church, or the teenagers, like my teenagers not talking to me, and they just stay in their room or they're sneaking out. And how do I keep them indoors? And so, yes, there's lots of prayer requests coming in, and I empathize because I'm a parent as well, and it is overwhelming. And so I think prayer is the best way to turn this situation around, to just keep yourself in a space of peace and not panic, if I may put it that way.
In the studio, Dr. Gitonga is actually in agreement with that. She's been laughing quite a bit.
Yes.
Is that the prayer thing? Do you want to come in
both,
here?
Because, and I really appreciate both Eva and Pastor, because of that space of an unknown. Generally, parents have become more anxious than the children. You ask, what should the parents do? I think the first thing every parent should do is get to know themselves. I am the parent of these children who are with me. How am I? Am I sorted? Am I comfortable? Am I spiritually nourished? Am I okay to be in this house with my children? Because children are experts. They will study you. They will know that you don't want to be in this home and you are being forced to be in this home. They will know that you don't really like being in their company. And so they will respond that way. So in my view, the first thing is that whether the child is able or disabled, or whether the parents are very spiritual, the parent needs to sit and know themselves. Both the father and the mother. When we are having these conversations, I hope it is not going out as if we are talking to the mothers. We are talking to both the father and the mother. Who are your children? Where are they socially? Where are they emotionally? Because children are very independent. They're very unique and very different. So if you are able to know each of your child and know this is the need of John, who is 3 years, these are the needs of Eunice, who is 5 years, these are the needs of Frederick, who is 14 years, then you'll develop a schedule that meets especially the younger ones. Remember, the older children have a mind. They can be able to tell you, Daddy, tomorrow, these are the things I think I want to do.
So you don't put them all in one room?
You don't put them all in one box because their needs are very different. A 4-year-old's needs or need more parents. Like you had the parents saying this child wants to help her type, a 14-year-old won't do that. Even an 8-year-old won't do that. They would want their own space. Pastor says, parents are saying adolescents would want to be on their own. Exactly, that's what they need. Actually, social distancing possibly might work for or against them because they want to be away from this particular parent.
Talking about social distancing,
yes.
Doctor. Now, praising is now a real thing.
Yes.
And it can be, quite a lot of fun. Take a look at this level of communal discipline and parenting.
Left hand, right foot, Father Abraham had many sons, oh Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let us praise the Lord. Right hand, right foot, left foot. Father Abraham had many sons, oh Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let us praise the Lord. Left arm, right foot, body shake. Father Abraham had many sons, oh Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you.
Pastor Bell, I don't know whether you've seen this clip. You'll be proud of these children. They've created a complete praise and worship session in their in their estate. This must be healthy for the mind and for the soul, I think, Pastor Bella.
Sorry?
This must be healthy for the soul and the mind.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, songs have just a way of uplifting, and not just any songs, but songs that are just rich in the word. I love that clip. And I know the history of it is it's a Sunday school teacher who lives in that complex who started it out. And I think the Reverend from All Saints, where that teacher belongs, came. I know another friend who's also a Sunday school teacher, at Amamlaka Church, has been involved in that same complex in teaching the children. And songs just uplift. It just has a way of lifting our spirits for young and old alike. I love that clip.
Absolutely. And now back in the studio, what I'm hearing from the three of you is also the importance of structure.
Yes, precisely.
It's not just wake up, play, eat, play, sleep. There has to be some kind of structure.
Yes, because children, unlike adults, we are all people of structure. I was talking to a neighbor who was saying that he's having difficulties. He wakes up in the morning and there's no motivation to bathe because I can bathe at midday. So even an adult feels there's no motivation for me because I don't have an appointment at 8. You can imagine what that means in the life of a child. Children are structured. They follow structure. Wake up at 8 and they negotiated. In Africa, we don't believe or we don't think kids should be brought on board to discuss what is the effect of this closure on themselves. So if parents are able to create a structure where children engage and they discuss, tomorrow is Monday, Tuesday, what are we going to do? And you won't be shocked. A child will tell you, Mommy, I think we do this in the morning, and then after that we sit and do schoolwork, after that we take lunch, after that we play for 10 minutes, after that the day is over.
So there's a routine.
There's a routine, and the kids are committed to the routines. That's why they love. And I'm sure if we speak to children, they have missed teachers in the first couple of weeks because the parents needed to find out, how do I manage this?
Let me come to you, Eva, for more on this, talking about structure and in the context of children with special needs who more than anybody else require some kind of predictability, some kind of structure. This must be a really trying time.
The children, I just want to go back a little bit to the Sunday school issue and prayer. I just want to highlight something. A lot of parents with children with special needs actually don't go to church because they have not gotten the support that they need in church. So that is an area that at this particular point in time, can we find ways of supporting parents with children with special needs, because they really don't have that church community, because a lot of churches are not equipped to deal with children with special needs. That is just a point to go out there. The other thing that I wanted to bring out is that when we talk about routine and structure, the children with special needs really require a lot of routine and structure. If they're not getting it from school, they'll expect it from home. Now, when parents, we have all been hit by this coronavirus. We've all been affected. Our lives have changed. Parents have never been in a situation where they cannot predict what is going to happen tomorrow. They've never been in a situation where they have been let go of their jobs and they have to stay home with their children. They've never been in a situation where they just cannot imagine what tomorrow will be like. We are faced with that today. Now you can imagine that parent in that situation with a child with special needs who needs structure and routine. It is very difficult. So we need to create, and the structure and routine does not mean that it's something that they have in school. It is just have that routine. You wake up at this time, you brush your teeth, we go outside for a walk, or we sit and do something. Just have a routine and just have a structure. That gives a lot of peace to everybody, both the parents and also the child with special needs. Without structure and routine, we will end up having some form of behavioral problems, which now become an added challenge to the home, because the children will not know what to do with themselves. They'll start seeking attention in negative ways. So structure and routine is very, very important right now.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Eva. Stay with us. We have still got more to cover this morning in our discussion. But first, we've been asking you to send us your comments, your feedback, what you're doing at home, what you're going through, what you would like us to address, and what you're hearing from this program. Here's a bit of what you've been saying to us. If I can walk over to my screen here. Cindy, you say, well, it depends on how you explain it to him. In other words, how well do your children understand about coronavirus or the new coronavirus. It depends on how you explain it to him or her. It also depends on how old the child is. A toddler, about 2 years, understands nothing and will never really understand, so maybe too young to start. That's what I'm hearing there. Another comment here from Robert Kirema. My daughter, a class 6 pupil, told us of the coming of a deadly disease last year in November after coming for December holidays, and we thought about it. Was it just a dream? I almost caned her and I told her never to tell us. Really? You wanted to? I hope you didn't. And I told her never to tell us her dreams again. Her dream needs special spiritual attention. I'll throw this one to Pastor Bella when we get an opportunity. That's Robert Kirema. And another comment here from Lillian Chepto. My 4-year-old girl thinks that corona is something tangible. When she sees on TV the image of the virus, she says, "Oh, that's corona there." Thank you, Lillian, for that. And more comments from Karinga. My 3-year-old baby boy believes it's Mutahi Kagwe, the health minister, who brought it. Oh my goodness. And has come on TV daily to apologize for it. We apologize, Minister. This comments from someone's 3-year-old. He will hear none of any other explanations from the parents. It must be Mutahi Kagwe's fault. Well, it's not. He's just the messenger of the very bad news. This one is from Bahrano. Our baby Salma knows coronavirus is a huge man who kills anyone who does not apply his oil, sanitizer. Well, that's a good way to look at it. If it gets us to sanitize, wash our hands, why not? And one more comment here. This one is from Abdallah Laska. Little one at home asked me to buy her coronavirus. Later, I realized she meant the mask. Wow. I hope you did buy the mask. You can never bet the children in terms of their imagination. Now remember, you can also call us live on the number that's showing on your screen right now. Tell us what you're up to, what you're going through during this pandemic, what you're hearing on our show, what you'd like to contribute, and you can also shoot a video or simply just tweet at your word or use hashtag new normal. We appreciate your feedback. And speaking of feedback, we have one more here.
Hey, baby, tell me what you know about COVID-19.
COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
For COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
you cough, you
Mm-hmm.
take your hand and cough.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to sneeze,
Mm-hmm.
you sneeze.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to touch the nose, don't touch.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to
Mm-hmm.
to high five everyone,
Okay.
do not hagiana,
Uh-huh.
do not touch everyone.
Oh, nice. So what do you do to avoid infection?
Infection.
Mm-hmm.
Wash your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Bathe every day
You wash your hands with what?
with soap and water.
Okay.
You bathe every day with soap and water.
Mm-hmm.
You clean your body with towel.
Uh-huh.
And then
Uh-huh.
you brush the teeth.
Uh-huh.
After brushing the teeth,
Mm-hmm.
you wash the brush.
Mm-hmm. Then there's one which you have not said, huh?
Yes.
Where do you stay?
mind-blowing music and entertainment. Just move to NTV.
Three sides of Anna.
I envy your luck, Marcelo. 2 accidents and look at you. Do you have an angel who looks over you? No, it's the devil that protects you. If I can repair in any way the damage that I did to you, then I'm willing to help you. It's your fault that the woman that I love is dead. You want to compensate me, Marcelo?
There's absolutely nothing going on between Maribel and me. Her ankle was simply injured outside.
You don't have to explain absolutely anything to me.
Let's go now. Come on.
It is her. It's Ana Lucia.
Please, Mariano, before you think about doing anything rash, you and I have to talk.
The Three Sides of Anna.
We are no one. Our mission is to monitor extraterrestrial activity on Earth.
Incident report.
Access denied.
There are things out there you don't need to know.
That's not the lie you told me when you recruited me.
I promise you the secrets of the universe, nothing more. Well,
you want me to jump? Time jump.
Heaviness and a burning inside. It could be heartburn.
Indigestion and heartburn? Eno gets to work in 6 seconds and works on the 6 symptoms of heartburn so you can keep living life non-stop. Eno, fight heartburn and indigestion fast.
Welcome back to Your World, and I still have my 3 guests on the program. We've got Dr. Siriaka Getonga, who's a child development expert. She's also Dean of the School of Education at the University of Embu, and her area of specific research is child or interest is child adolescence, and she pays particular attention to child protection. We also have via Skype Eva Naputuni, who is the Director of ACON Special Tutorials and Chairperson, Kenya Private Schools Association, Special Needs. She's also a mother of a special needs girl. We also have Bella Mburu, who is a clinical psychologist by profession and also a children's pastor at Nairobi Chapel, Ngong Road. She too is a mother. Now, I want to go back to a couple of the tweets that we just featured there to get your reaction. And I want to come back to you, first of all, Pastor Bella. There is this one from Robert Kirema. I'll read it once more. My daughter, a class 6 pupil, told us of the coming of a deadly disease last year in November after coming for the December holiday. But we thought about it was just a dream. I almost caned her and I told her never tell us such dreams again. Her dream needs special spiritual attention. What's your reaction to this, and how the parent interacted with the child, about children and spirituality, especially with their dreams and visions?
Well, I mean, it's biblical, isn't it? In Joel chapter 2, and I think it's repeated again in the book of Acts, it talks of how, old men will dream dreams and young people will see visions. And so it's not uncommon for God to speak to children. And it's very possible for God to speak to children visions, and I wouldn't be so quick to punish a child for seeing something, for having a vision of sorts. I mean, it's not a happy dream, isn't it? And you almost want to cane it away, being the Africans that we are, that's superstitious as we may be. But as a parent and as a believing parent, I would say, you know what? it's worth, because I'm sure even for the child, that's probably quite unnerving. How I would handle it if it was my child is we would pray about it together, and I would say, wow, that's quite interesting. Let's pray. Let's pray about it. I mean, if God is showing you something, then let's pray against it, and let's pray together that God would spare our nation a plight like this one. But you know, it's not the first time it's happened, and it's not going to be the last time it will happen if God's word is anything to go by.
Pastor Bella, I will also pass on the request from the person who tweeted that, Robert, who says he wants his child to be prayed over. So I hope you have space to whisper a quiet prayer for the child and the family. But let me throw that question to you as well, Eva. What's your experience as well about children, their dreams, their visions, and how we as parents handle this?
I think the most important thing is first to listen to the child. Listen to the child's dream. Listen to what is being said by that child. Is it something they're imagining? Is it something that they have heard about? Is it something, because they will come and say, they'll explain it to you as a dream. And then bottom line is to pray about it. Pray about what you have heard your child say. As Dr. Gitonga said, know your child, get to know your child. Pray about what you have heard the child say. And then now discuss it with the child, but never dismiss, never put it away, don't threaten. Children are innocent, and really they will not be in a place where they're lying about something or they're making up about something. But that's why you have to have that discernment. Where did it come from? And you will be able, once you pray about it, you'll be able to know how to go about it, but know your child, as Dr. Gitonga says that. And unfortunately, for some of our children with special needs, they're not able to articulate these things. They're not able to express what they, of course, they have dreams like everybody else, but they're not able to express it. We have adults with autism who will come and ask me questions about the Bible. They'll come and tell me, do you really believe that these things are possible? Why? Because they're very literal people. Yes. How do you split the ocean into two? You know, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you have 500 loaves of bread. It doesn't make sense to them. So it is how we explain situations to them. It's how we explain religion to them. What is it? Because a lot of times the parables don't make sense. When you think about it, a lot of things will not make sense for a child who is very literal. So it's a matter of really praying about it, and also understanding what does my child understand and what doesn't my child understand, and then now find ways of explaining that to them.
Eva, thank you so much. There's another tweet that caught the attention of Dr. Gitonga here, and I just want to go back to it for a moment. This one came from Karinga, and you said that my 3-year-old baby boy believes it's Mutahi Kagwe, that's the Minister or the CS for Health, who has brought it and has come on TV daily to apologize. He will hear none of whatever other explanations that the parents. I want to turn to you, Dr. Gitonga. You had a comment and an observation about there is a reason that this child is saying this, even though they're only 3 years old.
You're right. Yes, the child, and I want to bring the perspective of child protection in this period. You know, when a child says it's so-and-so who has brought this, this child is having questions. How come when Mutai Kagwe comes, he's always talking about the numbers of people who are infected, the numbers of people who have died, the numbers of people who have recovered, which is very, very small. So that story to the child is really, really scary. There hasn't been a focus to address the child in this conversation. And as the child keeps getting the information that is, you know, what is the child yelling? The child is yelling, is associating, because children learn by association. They're associating Mutai Kagwe with this corona disease. And for a long time, especially the younger children, will have a lot of problems dissociating the two. Because every time we are talking about, and it is a big thing in the life of a child. So I would wish two things. One, this period presents a high risk. It's a risky period for children to be abused. That's why you've had the parent with a spiritual dimension. where the parent feels this child is seeing things that I don't understand. Therefore, the best way to stop it is to punish this child so that they stop doing it. We give information that is potentially very, can have very high negative impacts on the child, while this information is very needed in this country. So if I talked about children with disabilities, and we talked about the routines require a sober, normal supervisor. Because even if you did a routine and nobody is there to supervise, so you look at what this disruption brings on board a big risk of abusing children consistently, either spiritually, physically, emotionally, because it is new. So I appeal that the children are also addressed, that we will get out of this. And I like what the minister has been saying, we are going to get out of this. I don't want to give false hopes, but we are doing well. But our kids are not. The other thing, Joseph, is the way the virus itself is shaped. I would encourage parents to have children, keep drawing that. Let it be put in a picture form. What does this mean for the child? What is it? Because you see, kids have never seen a virus in that. Children don't know what causes diarrhea. We've never shown that virus, which, I mean, the bacteria, if it is a bacteria which causes diarrhea. But now, this virus, which is causing COVID, has been made so clear and it is implanted in the minds of the children. And now the teachers are not there who have got the skill to explain to the child what really happens. That's why we are washing our hands so that virus can go away. That's why we are putting the mask so that thing doesn't come out of your mouth to go to the other. Nobody is there to explain to the child vividly, this is what exactly is happening. So parents, as a parent who said, it depends on the age of your child. So parents, please take time and explain.
So parents also have a role in,
now
in helping to...
There is no option. They now have to sit and explain and demonstrate.
Dr. Gitonga, thank you. I know CS Mutahi Kagwe, if he's watching us, we've passed on feedback to him before about the importance of addressing the nation in Kiswahili. He took that on board. So, Minister, if you're watching this, there is a special request. Could you please also address the children of Kenya? Otherwise, they will always see you as the bearer of bad news. Yule mtu wa corona amekuja tena. But actually, they're looking for a communication that relates to them at their age and to their own world. Now, corona in your world is understood or perceived differently by children, which is what we've just been saying there. It's a mix of love and hate, according to Joanna.
Joanna. And I do not like coronavirus, and I also like it at the same time.
Why do you like it?
I like it because that I do not really have to go to school and wake up so early. I hate coronavirus because that I'm not supposed to go to anyone's house, no visitings, no school. At least I don't have to wake up early. And my birthday, I cannot have as much people as I had on my 7th birthday. But for this birthday, only 2 people came. So it was fine. At least I got cake, presents, and other things. I'm usually missing going to see people. I miss my best friend, I miss my grandparents, and I miss my cousins. That's all I miss. And also church. It gives us free popcorn. I hope it disappears like a ghost.
Really moving that, Dr. Gitonga. What's your reaction to that child?
I think there are a couple of them. One of them is that children are grieving the loss of their friends, the loss of their school activity. They anxiously are waiting to be told this thing is over. So just like the parents are struggling, children are grieving. Children are in moments of anxiety. On the other side, there's a child who says, it is okay, it's working for me because I can sleep a little longer. That also provides room for us to interrogate what is this particular child saying. But for me, it's when we go through research, we find that children are likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of this. They are going through some trauma of some sort that needs to be investigated. I know Pastor has been very passionate and is very clear that the scripture would empower parents. I think what the parents now have is the scripture, the word of God, because it is true, it is powerful, it can transform. But there is also need for parents to also know, how do I begin to see symptoms and signs of psychosocial disorders or emotional problems that the child is likely to have. And like this teacher, the Sunday school teacher who brought the kids to sing, you know, that clip is beautiful because then it brings the community of the children, even though they are socially separated, which is an issue we need to interrogate. They are able to. So I think there are indications that the children are saying this thing is affecting us. It is likely to affect us. So let's find a way of dealing with what is happening now so that they're able to smooth transit back to school and to normal life safely.
Thank you, Dr. Kitonga. To you, Pastor Bella, if you've been listening to our guest here, our co-guest, speaking on the issue of children and post-traumatic stress, what are your thoughts? I know you're also a psychologist yourself.
Yes, I mean, I think this generation will look back one day and they're either going to look back and see how, as a nation, and really it's not just Kenya, this is the world over, was it a Great Depression or did it result in a great revival, if I may put it that way? And so, yes, this is not normal to stay at home, and how we put it, the perspective that we put out there for our children will really shape how they come out of this. And, you know, we could either look at it as we're stuck at home, or you could change that and say, well, we're safe at home. You know, so there's many different ways that we can look at this and come out of it stronger. And you know, being a pastor and being a believer myself, I'm of the opinion that the Bible gives us hope. And whilst the realities and psychologically, we can look at it and say, yes, trauma and psychological, you know, disorders may result. I think there's a greater power. There is hope in the word of God. I think this is the time for parents to pull out their Bibles and learn scripture with their children. Learn Philippians 4:6 with your child and encourage yourself and encourage your child and tell them, listen, we could worry and be fearful, or we could pray and hand over that fear and turn it into faith. We could go into Psalm 56 and tell them that whenever we feel afraid, that we can trust in God, we can have faith in God. So this can also be a season of hope and a season where we come out of it as families, just having grown so much deeper in our faith collectively. And if I may just chime in, it is a better alternative than using Mutahi Kagwe as you know, the discipline person, that if you do something wrong, I'm going to tell the corona man, you know. And I've had parents who've taken situations like these ones and used that to instill discipline in their children. So just cautioning against that. Don't use coronavirus or Mutahi Kagwe for, if you don't finish your food, the coronavirus will get you.
Thank you.
I mean, that's just going to fuel more anxiety in our children.
Thank you so much,
let's
Pastor.
Definitely, as parents, be the ones who model a sense of hope and a healthier way of coping, because we will get out of this as a nation. God is fighting for us.
Thank you so much, Pastor, and for reminding us that we should not abuse our CS Mutahi Kagwe. He just has the unfortunate task of delivering very sad news every single day. But in a situation where all you're waiting for is how many people have died, how many have recovered, it's a lot of doom and gloom, which is precisely why we started this show, Your World. It's so that in the midst of everything else that's happening, there is also life, and there is also life after Corona. So, okay, having heard about the all the dark side and, you know, the terrible, let's change tone a little bit and look at the fun things which we have prepared for you in this hour. Now, in case you've done everything that everyone has suggested so far and you still have more time with your children, here are a few ideas on some fun games with the kids. Yeah, and we want to hear from you. What sort of fun are you having with your children? What sort of ideas? Could you send us some videos? Could you send us a message? We want to hear from you. Our hashtag is #NewNormal. You can reach us on that. Also on our WhatsApp number, which is just below your screen. We'd love to hear from you and any feedback that you have on this show and what's happening in your world. Now, if you're looking for ways to exercise with your children, here again are a few ideas.
Tap one in the middle, tap the other to the left. Tap them both in the middle. How do you do, everybody? How you do? How you do, everybody? How you do? Everybody, how you do? Yeah! Oh yeah! My friend's going to be cool. Faster! My friend Lance got up from Dan. Oh yeah. My friend's going to be cool.
For this activity, we are going to need our sticks, or chopsticks, or wooden utensils, whatever you guys might have, okay?
Keep tapping on the floor. Now tapping. Keep tapping on the floor. To the right side. Keep tapping on the floor. To the right side. Tap, tap. Keep tapping on the floor.
Yeah, and what we really want to see is your own videos, Kenyan videos that we can show on this program. Now, Dr. Gitonga, physical exercise and physical development is also quite important in terms of emotional, psychological, and all the other kind of capacities that we need to develop in a child. PE is out of the curriculum now because children are at home with their parents. How do you replace that? What do you do?
I think there is a lot, like we've seen in the fun activities that are being presented there. It's just how creative and innovative a parent is to create the space. Remember, for children, you don't have to tell them what to do. All they need is the space. They will just create their own world and they enjoy their own world. They all invite the parent to join that world. So yes, a parent, I think we are just being asked now to be a little bit more alert and aware that a child on demand a space to exert themselves physically, because it is in the physical engagement that we are able to tell what is happening in the life and in the mind of this particular child. So parents, be alert and be aware that this is needed. And when a child creates that space, the most you can do is make sure that that space is safe so that the child is not injured. And you remove things that are likely to make the child, and allow the child to create. I've seen wonderful sessions and moments when children have created their space, and what comes out of it is beautiful, and the child is able to, even if it's an only child, is able to enjoy their own moments with themselves.
Eva, if Dr. Tonga, if I can pause you for a moment. Now, to you, Eva, physical exercise in the context of children with special needs, what do you do in that kind of environment?
It's very important. And you know, you don't even have to have a big space. It is movement of the body that will help these children be able to, you know, to stay calm. And I think I even sent a video of some of the activities that they can do, something like brain gym, where it's just crisscross activities. You don't need space. You will need to have them do some form of exercise, stretching, rolling, jumping, crisscross jumps. I think it's very important. Physical activity is very, very, very important for them. There's one thing I want to mention as we were talking about the parents and giving information. I think also as a government, we should also create child-friendly information that we can share with the children. For example, making cartoons. We can draw, we get something from the newspapers. When the parents are reading the newspapers, the children have some child-friendly information that they can also relate to. I think it's somewhere where we have to work as a team in order to create accessible, child-friendly information for all children, children with special needs and those without special needs, so that this can be understood and cannot be a frightening time for the children. However, going back to physical activities, some people may think that I need space, like I've just seen the clip. You don't need that much space. Even a place where you can just jump up and down, jog on the spot, stretch, those are important things for the children.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eva. I'll not come to you immediately, but Pastor Bella, if you can be thinking of a relevant scripture to do with physical exercise, we might come back to you a little bit later. But here on NTV, if you're looking for ways to exercise, why not join us every morning, Monday to Friday, from 6:30 a.m. Before this show properly begins at 7, we have a half-hour a session of physical activity with professional trainers who are doing it from their houses within their own limited spaces to show you, share tips, and also give you different kind of exercises that you can do within your own small space. Now, with enough people being locked in their homes, or shall we say safely at home, unable to indulge in various social activities, animals have taken over the fun. I'm a swimmer, but I'm embarrassed and ashamed by those monkeys, the kind of pace they have under the water. When Corona is over, we'll have to catch up. Now, Message on Wheels, as India's Corona car aims to accelerate awareness. A man in Hyderabad has manufactured a single-seater vehicle that's shaped like the coronavirus under the microscope to spread awareness about COVID-19 among the Indian population. Creativity with no end, the Corona car there. We're going to go on a break. Your world will be right back.
economies are faltering. The skies are empty. Borders are closed. The streets are deserted. Schools have been halted. And what was referred to as work has everyone staying at home and figuring out how to make it work. We are all at risk, and the health of your neighbor is not only dependent on you, but your life or death could also be in their hands. On Wednesday, 15th April 2020, the Nation Media Group will hold a live virtual Nation Leadership Forum on NTV from 7 p.m. It shall take a peek into how COVID-19 has changed the world, the family, the individual, and life as we all have known it.
This pandemic will test us, as it is testing all countries in every corner of the globe. But I don't believe that it will defeat us. If we pull together and everybody does their part, we shall overcome.
Nation Leadership Forum. Engaging society, impacting the nation. Wherever you are, you can still stay updated daily. Get your favorite paper delivered to you. For home or office delivery, contact us on 0719 038 062 or email subscription@ke.nationmedia.com. Daily Nation. The truth.
Welcome back to our program, Your World, and we are using the hashtag New Normal. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can tweet us on that, send us your videos. We've got some messages from you which have just come in as we've been on air. This one is from Zawadi Jedaida, my five-year-old daughter saw her father entering home with a mask and she was like, "Mami, ambia daddy anibaye makisik kama yangu." And another one here from, again, Peter Keo, my daughter, 6 years of age, knows corona as a bad virus which must be killed by sanitizing and staying indoors. Thank you for that, Peter. More messages from you. This is from Mamake Abi Mwikali Irene. They know it's a virus that starts at night. Wow. Okay. More on that. Max Lee. It was a hard time for me because my 6-year-old asked me whether from behind COVID-1 18 existed. I told her this one 19 is very strong. So why is it called COVID-19? I lied to her before I knew the meaning of 19. Please forgive me, my daughter. I'm sure your apologies are accepted by your daughter. Thank you so much, Lee. This one is from Gashi Reishi. My son asked me, how watu wakutengeneza corona kwani huwa hawalali, because this thing is just destroying people. Thank you for that message. We have another one here from Mustafa Muga. Mustafa, he understands nothing. Yeye anajua wako long holiday na kunawa mikono because baba amesema. That's a message from an understanding of corona from that particular child in that particular family. Now, we'll be asking you to send us videos of your child discussing anything to do with the new coronavirus to see how much they know about the pandemic. Here are some of your responses.
My name is Zion. Zion Zilofa, and I'm 4 years old. And I'm going to talk of coronavirus. Stay at home, wash your hands with soap. And if you have food, share with the others and quarantine yourself. Always remember, quarantine yourself. Bye, I love you.
Mbona unashika bega? Utaniua. Unajua corona iko sana. Usishike mimi.
Ni ukweli anafanya hivyo akuambukize.
Wewe
unanijua mzuri.
mbona nijua mimi?
Unataka kuwa shule.
Wewe kuna ugonjwa wanasema ati walifunga mashule ati kwa nini? Kwa coronavirus iko tuele inaua watu.
These are kids who are seriously informed about the corona situation. Dr. Gitonga, is it that they are so well briefed on what this is about, or what's going on here? Has the communication really worked?
I think one of the things that has happened in this country is that we've shared information very well, very effectively. and therefore children know. What we don't know as yet is whether they are being able to completely conceptualize it in a manner that is healthy, and they are able to live with it. They are able to cope and do life normal with what we are sharing. And I think that's why we are encouraging parents to find out what is it that your child really knows about the coronavirus. Remember, children learn and make knowledge out of repeated information over and over again. It's repeated until it sinks. And I'm thinking one of the things that we are likely to see in this generation of children is that they'll be very clean. They want to wash their hands consistently because it is something that they did as a result of very good communication and information shared. They are becoming advocates. They are supporting the government achieve its objective, even though they are not being addressed, because the children are telling them, don't you know there is corona? Don't you need to wash your hands? So they are not only picking it up for themselves, but they're also picking it up for those that are surrounding them.
And when you say that we need to distinguish whether it's just something that they have memorized or actually they do,
yes.
How do you actually get to know?
I think with the time we will know, because you see, because of the way it is presented over and over again, and children will learn and master skills that are presented and repeated and practiced, we'll get to know when for example, we, in another 3-4 weeks, I'm praying that this thing is over within the next couple of weeks, but peradventure it is going to linger longer. I would imagine when these kids go to school, they'll ask, where will I sanitize my hands? When I cough, I should do this. It is something that has been presented in very good imagery, and it has formed in their minds. So there is a gain in the children. Remember, Pastor addressed the issue of the child who and the dream, and then of course we have seen the formation of the image that is quite negative. Corona itself is negative. It's not a good thing. And we know it's not a good thing. But how is it going to help the child transit to know that even if I got corona and even if it comes, there are people who are getting well? And I think that is what we need to hear. That it's a disease that people get healed, so that a child doesn't have to be afraid. I had a parent saying that when she coughed, the child says, "Mommy, you are going to die. You got corona." So we can't hide ourselves from the reality that children are picking also a number of deaths. And they are knowing if you cough, if you get corona, you can die.
And from an educationist point of view, it's also interesting that corona is actually a big word for a child.
Yes.
But they're able not only just to pronounce it, they know what it means. So there are lessons there in terms of communicating with children and simplifying things to their world.
Remember, we say this disruption, there has been a lot of talks encouraging parents to continue with academic work at home. But up to what extent would a parent carry that academic work? And one of the things that they could choose to discuss is illnesses and diseases that have come and have gone, and countries have been able to cope with them. So it is a big thing. And so how, for me as a psychologist and as an educationist, and even with my students, I would want to find out, what do the children quite understand about this coronavirus? When there was a lot of campaign on washing hands so that you don't have diarrhea, children were able to live it. They were able to practice it. When children are told carry an handkerchief, they know that now we are saying use tissue. What does that mean in the life of a child?
Let me actually,
yes.
Pastor Bella, if you're still with us, I'm coming back to this issue of, is there anything positive that children might take away from this season? I mean, it's all doom, gloom, death, disaster. But is there something that children or families indeed can take away from this season of the corona pandemic?
Well, I think as a nation, we're going to be very hygienic people. I can't wait. I can't wait for a cleaner Kenya. We're all just smelling better, keeping ourselves healthier. So that's a good thing. I think health-wise, we'll definitely be more conscious about this. But I think one of the greatest things that I'm going to celebrate at the end of all of this is families will draw closer. I think that Clary can probably say this, that teachers for the longest time have struggled, and they say that they can only work with what they're given by the parents. And as parents for the longest time in this nation, we've probably outsourced parenting to nannies and to school teachers and to Sunday school pastors. But now parents are having to really take up their role and parent their children. And whilst, parents are probably looking at it and thinking, I need to get out of this house, children are probably excited thinking, I've never spent this much time with my mom and my dad. And so I'm excited that what might result from this whole situation is that families would grow deeper in just their connection and in their bonding, and that there would be a fresh joy and a fresh life in our families, and memorable moments will be created out of this. I think also spiritually, a sense of hope and faith will also be nurtured in our children as well. And they'll get out of this having grown in the fact that as a nation, we were faced once upon a time with this situation that kept us at home and people were dying. But I prayed to God and God heard our prayer and he took it away. So I think, our children will also grow deeper in their faith and in certain spiritual disciplines, such as reading their Bibles and prayer.
Yeah, and I could see Eva nodding away there furiously. Do you want to come in now?
Oh dear.
Yeah, Eva, your turn. We saw you nodding away.
Yes. No, I really do agree with Pastor Bella as she says that families will draw closer. And I think it's a great opportunity because even when we talk about our children with special needs, the parents will get to know their children better. They will be there for them. And when we look back, maybe in a couple of years back, and we will realize that it has become a routine that they had as a family to grow closer, especially in regards to religion. Because we're not just talking about Christianity here. We're also talking about the Muslims, the Hindu, everybody. There will be space in their routine and everyday life to get together as a family and actually spend time with God. I think that is very important. And the connection, and I like the way we said that will be a cleaner, a cleaner society. The hygiene will be highlighted. I think that's also very good because that is what we have been talking to the children about. And now it has become routine for them. They know that every time they go to the toilet, they need to wash their hands, they need to take care of themselves. I think God just has an interesting way of putting all these things together. So I totally agree with Pastor Bella.
Thank you very much, Eva. Now, let me take a minute to applaud these parents for their level of creativity in response to their homes with kids nagging them with stories of, Dad, we want to go to a restaurant. They went ahead and just made one in their own house because, well, everywhere is closed.
So, can I get any drinks orders for you?
Yes.
What would you like?
Can I have a Diet Coke, please?
A Diet Coke, no problem. And what would you like to drink?
Black.
A black one? Yes, no problem at all.
I want water and milk.
You want milk as well? Right, no problem at all, we'll get that for you.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. I'm your head chef. I'm Daddy. I believe you ordered the Diet Coke and the milk for you, sir. And we have some special wine tonight. This is from the Robinson's Reserve. I'll put my hat down because this is a special wine. This is Robinson's Reserve. It's a 2020. It's from our apple and blackcurrant reserve. If I'd just like to pour a little glass for you, sir. How are you tonight, okay?
Now, and all the videos, unfortunately, that we have are from another world. But what about your world, your Kenyan world, your village world? We want to see your videos, so please share them with us. #NewNormal. Robots assist hospital staff in Italy. At the Secola Hospital of Varese in Lombardy, robots are replacing doctors and nurses in some duties in the fight against coronavirus. They enable remote monitoring thanks to their cameras, which means medical staff do not have to physically go into the room, thus limiting the use of protective equipment and also saving time. Now, Dr. Gitonga, you're watching that kids' restaurant at home. There's a lot that people can do within their environment with children.
Precisely. There's a lot that parents can do with their children. It just requires reshaping, restructuring your life so that you are able to address the immediate need. The immediate need now we have is to make sure that our children are okay as parents. You can work from the house. The immediate need that we have now as a nation is to make sure that children don't get this disease. And it is children will stay at home. It's us parents who are likely to go out and come back home. It's as parents who are likely to abuse them. It's as parents who are likely to not get it right. And then it goes back. We have the capacity to cushion our children from the impact of this pandemic, spiritually, physically, emotionally, socially, name it. Because you are being empowered by God, and you are being trusted by God with those children. In fact, I normally tell people that God trusts a few people with children. And so if your God has trusted you with a child, and that child has been gathered by this pandemic back into your nest, God forbid that you would not pay attention to each one of them and get a moment to admire them and interact with them and cook for them and serve for them. Let them know the food that you cook as a daddy is better than what is served in Nando's or KFC. And kids appreciate. Kids have an amazing level of appreciation, and then they don't forget. They will never forget any kind deeds, and they will never forget also the wrong deeds that you did and you didn't appreciate. So I think for me, there is a lot. In fact, the Kenyan parents are doing a lot, and I mentioned that I'm following a couple of children. And what I know is that they are very creative, and I encourage them to share, because it is by sharing locally generated material that we will be able to identify and see.
Let me come to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gitonga. To you, Pastor Bella. It's okay, we can cope for now, but if this goes on for a few more weeks, a few more months, will there still be hope left? Are we going to be in despair? The test will be when we get to Italy or Spain, when we've got, we're 2-3 months into this pandemic. What are your views?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. You broke off for a second.
Oh, sure. And I was just saying that we can cope for now. We seem to be coping well with games and all that sort of thing. But if this goes on for longer, for a few more weeks, a few more months, what will happen to us, or what will become of us?
Well, that's where our faith is truly tested, isn't it? It's the refining fire, and parenting is hard work, and it's all about consistency. It's do it today, and you might feel like you utterly, epically failed, but get up tomorrow and do it again. And so if this drags on for longer than we think or we hope for, which, we're hopeful that it will not, the thing is we just need to keep getting up, keep praying, keep hoping, and just be faithful, just be consistent, because it pays off. And really, what's the alternative? If we stop praying, what's the alternative? We cannot give in to the despair. We just I think my advice would be, let's get up as Kenyans and with our children, and let's keep hoping and praying and modeling that for them, because the alternative is just grim, and we don't want to give in to that. We must be the ambassadors of hope for them and not for despair.
I think same question to you, Eva, and I'm conscious that I'm surrounded by 3 mothers, so I'm not necessarily hearing the perspective of the people who might be also quite stressed, who are the daddies. But to you, Eva, if this goes on longer than we anticipate or the people pray for, it's going to be particularly difficult, especially if you're living with a child, with special needs.
Yeah, I think, look at your hashtag. It says the new normal. So with the consistency, we get up every day and do the same thing over and over again. That becomes the new normal, you see. But I think then we, at this particular point in time, we need to start finding ways on how we can support the families of children with special needs or disabilities. It is time now for us to start creating that support that we may need to now start making home visits. Can we be considered now as therapists and special needs teachers as essential services with proper protection, to start now going over to sit, because the parents will get burned out. They'll completely get burned out, and then that will result to some form of abuse. So I think we should start thinking about how now do we become essential services, and start doing some home visits, apart from empowering the parents through internet. Imagine the millions of parents who are in the slum areas, who are in the rural areas, who do not have internet. What do they have? So we need to start creating that support now, so that now we can start reaching to them. Otherwise, we have a very vulnerable group of children who was very highly prone to abuse. So maybe we should start thinking like that.
Thank you very much indeed. And we would like to hear from you also on our WhatsApp line, which is the number below your screen, in addition to hashtag New Normal. Outside the South African capital of Pretoria is Wet Nose Animal Rescue Center. But just before we go into that, I can see some messages which are flagging up. Let's have a look. Yes, before I move on. Kemunto Zipi, wangu akiona mtu na mask, she's like, hey, Mom, ona corona. That's from Kemunto Zipi. Another feedback here from Susan Aseka. My 7-year-old son always tells me to sanitize the television such that corona will go away when he sees the CS for health giving updates on corona. He says, look, Mr. Corona is here. He washes his hands regularly because corona ni mtoto na inafaa aoshwe. Okay, next one. Christopher Kimani on WhatsApp, you've texted us to say some parents may not always be available to their children and undertake physical activities with their children due to other circumstances. How can those kind of parents be able to help them? That's a question I'll leave to my panel to chip in as we move along. But first, let's move to South Africa. Outside the South African capital of Pretoria is the Wet Nose Animal Rescue Center. It houses more than 500 domestic and farm animals. With the country on lockdown, 5 caretakers have opted to spend this time not with their families, but with the animals to ensure that they get the love and attention they need.
He's like, oh, what's that? That's cool. Ja, zeg maar nou. Wil jij nou die paarden toe gaan? Maar als je eerst met hem gejoin hebt, dan is hij awesome. Zij is net een beetje hard op de seat, nee.
So it's been hard for the staff because they've been on lockdown on this property, 5 of these guys, not visiting their families, not allowed to go see them, not allowed to go out of this property. So they've been in quarantine basically on the shelter with all the animals.
Okay, that's a situation there in South Africa. Now, there was a question, Dr. Gitonga, from I'll read it again from Christopher Kimani, who says that some parents may not always be available to their children and undertake physical activities with their children due to other circumstances. How can these kind of parents be able to help them? I don't know what your view is.
I identify with that parent because not all parents are even empowered to be able to know that physical engagement is valuable. But you just mentioned earlier that if they are able to access a TV, you have a session in the morning, the children can participate in that. And I also think innovative programs that you have the capacity of providing would meet that need. Because I believe almost every other home in this country has a television, and especially those who are being able to respond, they have access. So as you bring in cartoons, also bring in physical programs that target children, and parents are made aware very early that this program will come for 30 minutes and the kids will engage in 30 minutes. Again, we are a community. Yeah. Even though we are talking about social distancing, yes, it is working for us now and we need to respect it absolutely. But I believe, just like we saw the pastor organize an activity for children within their homes, I think within the setup where they are living, there can be some innovative ways of addressing that particular need.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Gitonga. Now, did you know that you use 200 muscles to take a single step forward? The pressure on your feet is equal to about 3 to 4 times your body weight with each step while running. So a few tips on something that you can do, 30 minutes daily physical activity that you can try. There are also at least 180 minutes daily physical activity for children 3 to 4 years per day. Also 180 minutes for physical activities. Adults and older adults, 75 minutes per week for vigorous activities, 150 minutes per week for moderate intensity. Now, the importance of physical activity, well, yes, to improve muscular, cardiorespiratory fitness, improve bone and functional health. These are all the benefits of physical activities. Reduce the risk of hypertension, coronary heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and various types of cancer, including breast cancer and colon cancer, as well as depression. Also helps to reduce the risk of falls. Now, Museveni, just before we move onto that, these are all the benefits. We can't praise it more than that in terms of physical activity,
Yes,
Dr. Kitonga.
Yeah. I think, you know that just like if you park your car and it doesn't move, and you have, after some time you have to replace parts. So, yes, physical activity is very important and very necessary. But remember, for children, it is spontaneous. It's only that adults hinder the physical movement. So for children, you don't have to think about it. Just provide the space, provide the things, and the children will engage themselves. The problem we have as adults is that we curtail, stop, Acha, stop. Actually, that's a conversation at home. Stop climbing, stop doing. But children will naturally engage. What we're asking is that enhance it in your small space and be aware that in this time, this is what you can do. For adults, yes, we need to do what we are being told. It is necessary.
And Eva, a quick comment from you. Eva, you mentioned, you called for, a lot of support for people, especially parents with children with special needs. And you mentioned, for example, the importance of support like home visits. But I'm wondering, in this society where we're struggling to feed, people who are in desperate need of food, do we have the capacity for that kind of support that you need and that parents desperately need?
I think what we really need to look at is prioritizing matters, because we do have capacity. It's a matter of getting together, using the organizations that are currently on the ground. It's really a matter of planning and looking at it as a matter of urgency, because it's not like we don't have the staff, we don't have the personnel and resources. We have that. Everything is there. It's how do we put it together and make it meaningful? Because right now we have different organizations doing all kinds of different things, up to and including feeding, which is excellent. If we're able to take food out there, why can't we mobilize ourselves? In fact, just using the Nyumba Kumi aspect, why can't we mobilize ourselves to be able to identify the service providers who would visit, maybe not every day, but even once a week, and ensure that these children are actually taken care of, and the parents also. Let's not forget the parents, because this is a time that we'll have some serious mental issues, illnesses because of depression. So I think we have the capacity to do this. It's how do we mobilize and how do we facilitate? But the resource people are there and they're on the ground.
Okay, thank you very much.
It is possible.
Thank you very much indeed for that, and I hope the powers that be are listening to you, Eva. Remember, if you are looking for physical activity to challenge yourself, to exercise from the comfort of your home, we have a show right here every Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m. on NTV. You can join our expert professional trainers who take you through a series of moves and exercises that you can easily do at home with props that are found at home. Maybe it's your water bottle, maybe it's your chair, or whatever it is. Join us at 6:30 till 7, and you can have some fun with our professional trainers. And we're also gathering all your comments. We are running out of time, but we promise to look at all your feedback and respond to that tomorrow and in our programs in the days to come this week. But as we close, President Museveni can do it. Well, can you? Yesterday we began a challenge, with a lot of you. We threw a challenge on you. We asked you to do some push-ups in less than a minute. Museveni went out to challenge his citizens on ways to exercise at home. And this is what you sent us.
This is complicated. obviously, if we had, right from the very beginning, shut everything down, it may have been a little bit different, but there was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then.
Now, President Trump retweeted a post with a call to fire Dr. Fauci last night amid mounting criticism of the federal government's response to the
Well, and that's all we have time for in our show today. Thank you very much indeed to all our guests who joined us on the show this morning. We're back with another world, your world, tomorrow morning, starting at 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. But remember, before that, you can join us for a bit of teasy exercising from 6:30 a.m. till 7 a.m. On behalf of the entire team here at NTV Your World, I'm Joseph Warungu saying bye for now.